Great. Let's make a start. It's lovely to see you all out this evening for this equipped session. And some of you will know, some of you won't. With these equipped sessions, there's kind of three broad areas we try and look at throughout the year. So some are doctrine or theology, so thinking about things like the Trinity, or the issue of salvation, or the person and work of Jesus, those kind of things we've had equipped sessions on, so theology, doctrine. Other ones that are on sort of pastoral matters, so it might be how to walk alongside someone who's suffering, or it might be how to forgive someone, and thinking sort of more pastorally. And then the third category is sort of cultural, words completely gone from my mind, things that are kind of topical cultural topics that we're thinking about a little bit like tonight with AI. So this is the focus for our time this evening, the church and AI. And Ben Harding is sort of responsible for tonight happening, but he's not here. Ben said to me, probably about 6 or 9 months ago, he said, "Oh, there's a really good book that's just come out called The Church and AI by a guy called David Betts. You should read it." Ben said, "I'm going to read it, you should read it." Said, "Okay, great." And I read it and really, really loved it. I thought it was great. And then said to Ben, "Should we do an equip session together on it?" He said, yeah, Nathan, that sounds great. Yeah, let's do it. And then he couldn't make the date that we put in the diary. So if there's any expertise or brilliance missing, Ben is going to supply that for you at a later point. Hopefully all these things. And I probably don't need to say it, but to clarify, I am not an expert in AI. None of you are going to be surprised by that. But I have read some helpful things, articles, books, and thought a little bit about it, and I'll flag some resources at the end. But I'm convinced that it is a crucial issue for us as a church and individually to grapple with, because AI is, well, it's already changing the world rapidly, and it will do even more in the future. Now, some here this evening will know nothing about artificial intelligence, and I hope tonight won't sort of go too much over your heads. It'll be accessible. Others here will know way, way more about this than I do. And so I want input throughout the evening, and it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? But this is the sort of start of a conversation about these things rather than the final word on AI. But just in the groups that you're in, I know some of them are quite big, so you might just want to break it down just to people near you. Here's a question to get going. In what kind of ways is AI making a difference in your life? In other words, what kind of things are you using it for at the moment? If you think, "I'm not using it for anything, Nathan," just stay quiet and let other people speak, and you can listen in to how they're using it. Just a few minutes then on this question, and we'll come back together. Hey, let's come back together.
The other medications.
The review's up to date. There's no allergy.
It sounds like we're using it a lot. Lots of people saying things. Just fairly brief, just begin to shout out, how are some of the ways that it's starting to be used, or you've been using it in everyday life? Go for it. Shout out.
Image editing.
Image editing. Can you just unpack that a tiny bit more?
So like if you've got an image and you want it to be wider but you haven't got a wider image, it will create extra bits of image for you.
Without you stretching it and it looking all blurry.
Sometimes with comedy effects.
Okay, great. Good.
Differentiating resources at school.
Okay.
So, like if you've got 2 articles that you want it to have a reading age of 16 and a reading age of 10, put the same article in and it'll give you 2 different reading ages. The kids can be reading the same content, but with different appropriate reading ages.
Nice. Brilliant.
Got a friend who's a commercial lawyer.
Yeah.
And he puts in the clause, the sort of clauses he wants, and it writes a contract for him. You just do a quick read over to check it and signs it as his work.
Great. It's going to come back to Vaughan.
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, commercial packaging design. I've got a next door neighbour and he came out, I said, "How's work these days?" So it's a bit slack. He's a commercial packaging designer. Anyway, we're down at Tesco's, so I thought I'd try this. ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Give me a tea package. And they say, is it minimalist or straightforward, and what title? And you do all the things and you chat with it, and then it comes to the product. So.
Brian, you're showing us all up there. Brilliant. Thank you. Fantastic. I'm sure we've got loads more, but we're just going to crack on with seeing some of the ways then that we're using it already. And some of you will know these things. Personal assistants. We've been using these for a while. Alexa, Siri. Google. I'm just waiting to see if anyone's Siri went off. As I said, that was fine. Google. I preached a sermon a few years ago on Israel being taken into captivity in Assyria and someone's phone was just going crazy, Siri, and then every time I said it, it was quite frustrating. Social media, sort of basing your preferences, kind of seeing your preferences in your behaviour. The algorithms pump you, don't they, with specific content, knowing what you are engaging with. So that's been happening a few years. I think when we were pregnant, Charlotte was pregnant with Micah, clarify, when Charlotte was pregnant with Micah, started to get adverts on our Facebook pages probably then for prams and dummies and bottles, and suddenly, oh, that's a bit freaky. My friend had it the other day. His beard is going a little bit grey, and he's got a joke with a friend about that, and he saw some beard dye in Boots, and he took a photo and sent it to his friend, didn't think anything more about it, went onto social media that night, and that product that he had taken a photo of to send it was everywhere, and on the advertising on his social media, more and more. Certain sports, if you like watching videos of West Ham, suddenly the only thing you will see on your social media, videos of West Ham, or if you like videos of cats, more and more videos pumping onto your thing of, a few people laughing there, of cats, or if you like left or right wing commentators, then that will zoom in on that particular thing. Or video streaming, we use Netflix and Prime. If you like this film, you'll probably also like this one. It's confusing when I leave it on the kids' account and suddenly it says, you will like Peppa Pig movie or Paw Patrol. Oh no, it's on the children's accounts. Navigation, Google Maps, Waze, if you use those things, using AI. But probably most of all, I think, is going to be the last few years with ChatGPT, Google AI, chatbots that kind of burst onto the scene 2022, 2023, when many people started using them. And some of you will, I mean, Brian's using this regularly, others will have used these, but just if you haven't seen it, I'm going to put in a question here.
Do you like sport?
How do I stop badgers getting into my food waste bin? This is a live issue. Last night I saw one out the window.
Okay.
Secure the bin itself. Use a locking lid to weigh it down, store it securely. Use strong smells to deter the badgers. Maybe some lights or sprinklers, but create a physical barrier. Double bag your food waste, freeze smelly waste. Okay, it's quite helpful, isn't it? Actually, or
do you like
create a day out in Leamington. Leamington with an unlimited budget. Okay. What's it going to say? Elegant start and relaxation. Private chauffeur and arrival. You're going to Elan Spa and Mallory Court, is it? And then private spa suite. Independent jewellers. The Cross at Kenilworth. Helicopter tour. You get the idea. So you can look at those things later if you want. Pretty clever, right? Pretty amazing in that way. Or you might have seen the headlines about AI recently, that a woman married an AI hologram in Rotterdam in 2024. It's not a joke. She married a hologram there, you can see at the top. Rather than real relationships, ways of men, and another article here, pursuing relationships with AI girlfriends. 8 out of 10 men think they could replace real lovers. There we go. Andrew Lloyd Webber and Elton John and other creatives joining together to stand up for artists and musicians whose works are being stolen and taken to produce new scores, new music, and they say, no, this isn't right, You might have seen that. Or 2023, a ChatGPT church service, apparently the first one in the world that was done completely with ChatGPT, running the whole service, apparently even communion, not quite sure how that worked exactly. Now at this point, as you hear these things, it's perhaps tempting to either think, I am, not the church bit, but I am for this. This is amazing, this is brilliant. It tells me how to get rid of badgers. I'm totally for it. Or you can go, no, this is weird, this is terrifying, I don't like it. my mother-in-law, hi if you're watching at another point, I was trying to show her ChatGPT and no, I don't want to see it. I don't want to look at it. Don't show me. Maybe you react more like that. But it's not quite as simple as a for and against. Here's a little quote from an article in The Atlantic. AI is not really a single issue you can be for or against the way you can with, say, guns or abortion. It is, to name just a few aspects, an economic issue, will it replace millions of jobs? A foreign policy issue, what if China surpasses the US? A political issue, is it about to supercharge our misinformation problem? But there's one overarching debate about AI between the techno-utopians who think it will usher in a new age of prosperity and the techno-pessimists who think it will be a destructive, destabilising force that might just usher in the end of the world. That's the big debate. And so it's complex, isn't it? There's so many important questions we want to ask as Christians. How does it relate, AI, to faith, theology? What are some of the economic effects on society it might produce? What does that mean for us as Christians engaging with it? What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats of the church, to the church and AI? As I said, I'm going to lean heavily on that book Ben and I read by David Betts. It's an excellent resource. But just before we go into 3 guidelines, that is kind of where we're going to land tonight, I want to just to help us to watch a tiny little video here, just introducing AI. It's just 1 minute. I'm just trying to get some sound for it. That should be fine. Slightly going back to school, but it's
When you hear the term artificial intelligence, what comes to mind? Superpowered robots? Hyper-intelligent devices? Science fiction has familiarized the world with the concept, but outside of Hollywood, what is artificial intelligence and what can AI actually do? For starters, AI involves using computers to do things that usually require human intelligence. Humans can see with their eyes and process what they see. We can understand our environments and move around within them. Our brains have the ability to see patterns, and we have the ability to understand spoken language. Artificial intelligence is a broad branch of computer science that includes many different terms. In order for computers to achieve these capabilities, they require lots and lots of data. Large data sets allow AI algorithms to identify patterns, make predictions, and recommend actions. Artificial intelligence is already all around us, but today's best AI still can't compete with the human brain in some ways. For example, in 2016, the computer program AlphaGo defeated a legendary professional Go player. But if you ask that same computer to drive a car, or walk, or even play Monopoly, it wouldn't be able to do so on its own. AI's computing power is massive, but our human brains are able to tackle a much wider set of data and methods.
Just as brief, put a little introduction to help us kind of get onto the topic. And just to define a few terms before we kind of go into the guidelines then. Present versions of AI, then, like ChatGPT, are sometimes called ANIs, Artificial Narrow Intelligence. They can perform kind of specific tasks like we've seen with the Badger thing a minute ago, but they haven't attained the status of AGIs, Artificial General Intelligence, which is the ability to replicate the intellectual ability of humans in all areas. Now, if AI achieves that, AGI, the next milestone is for it to surpass the human capabilities in all areas. That's what's sometimes called super intelligence, that would make AI at least as fast as the human brain and qualitatively smarter. So there's 2 categories then, ANIs, Artificial Narrow Intelligence, and AGI, that we're not there yet, but Artificial General Intelligence. And ANIs, like we've seen with ChatGPT, they're already transforming the world. So some of your occupations, if you're in manufacturing, automation, they've already been used for a number of years to improve efficiency and precision. Or healthcare, medical imaging techniques, MRI scans, CT scans. AI has helped them to see in kind of minute anomalies that a human eye might have missed. And so diseases have been diagnosed. Early interventions, higher survival rates, because AI has been able to identify things that the human eye hasn't been able to. So that's all ANIs, but the key question is what happens when AI surpasses humanity? When ANI turns to AGI? Stephen Hawking, you might remember him, he believed, it's slightly hyperbole, but he believed it was either going to be the best or the worst thing ever to happen to humanity when that takes place. Many experts think that will come around 2040 to 2050. Sam Altman, who's the head of ChatGPT OpenAI, he's the CEO of that, he thinks it's going to be 2025 when that will start to be here. An AI ability for serious good and potential for good. However, the risks of AGI are more serious than lots would like to admit. So back in June 2023, loads of prominent AI scientists, notable figures, they came together to write a little letter. And it simply said this: mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. These are people like CEO of Google DeepMind and OpenAI, Sam Altman, serious figures. These aren't kind of nerds in their parents' basement, going, oh, it's going to be the end of the world. These are like serious figures in AI are saying there's global pandemics, nuclear war. This needs to be in the same category as how seriously we are taking this. According to Forbes magazine, US, China, Russia, India, Turkey, UK are already all working on autonomous weaponry, and Israel holds a considerable lead. And the article said this: not only with war will these killer robots become more intelligent, more precise, more capable, faster and cheaper, but a swarm of 10,000 drones could wipe out half a city, theoretically costing as little as $10 million. It's easy to imagine a situation where this sort of technology is abused by operators or rogue super intelligent AIs with sinister purposes. On one hand, with these medical imaging, CT scans, it's really easy to be positive about AI. It's great in loads of ways. And then you read these kind of things and we're negative, we're suspicious about what might happen. Techno-optimism or techno-pessimism. And it's easy, isn't it, for us to maybe as tonight to want to kind of bury our heads in the sands with this and to kind of hope that it's going to go away somehow, but it's not. And as Christians, we want to be thinking well, engaging well with, under the lordship of Christ, how we can kind of think about these things more. So just again, leave the camera rolling probably for this, Tim. Just briefly in your groups, would you describe yourself as a pro-AI, anti-AI, neutral? Where would you naturally kind of fall with these things? Are you for it, against it, or somewhere in the middle? Just quickly with people near you.
Somewhere in the middle. Because I think that we'll reach a point where AI, if they become super intelligent, they'll decide that we're a threat to each other and to the earth. And just go, well, the best thing to do is wipe out humankind.
That's what Joe Carell thinks.
Yeah.
We were discussing it when you last night.
Oh, okay. Not because we're not
Yeah, I think I'm a bit of an optimist because I think it's a bit like with social media. I think things reach a point where we start to feel like the effects, the negative effects, and then we pull back a bit.
But unless we've got a shut-off switch.
All right, let's come back together.
Or when they're all connected together.
Just to get the temperature in the room, don't look around so no one's going to see. Who's really for it? Hands up. Who's kind of really against it? Oh, you guys are all predictable. In the middle? Somewhere in the middle? Yeah. Should we all go home? No. Okay, well, how are we going to engage with it? 3 guidelines then. First, I'm going to do a little bit more of the talking. Second, you're going to do all the work. And then we'll see what happens in third. So, again, from Dave Bett's book, number 1 guideline, prioritise relationships. AI will never be able to meaningfully replicate genuine friendship, real love, heartfelt care. Ultimately, AI's facts don't care about your feelings. Now more than ever, we need to recognise that relationships matter. And I think he helpfully sets it out within the context of other rapid changes over the last 100 years, really, that are some of these that you recognise. Broadening secularism in society, in the West this is particularly, sexual revolution of the 60s, rise of individualism, adoption of social media, increasing division over politics and ideology, and the effects of COVID-19. All of those things have affected our last 100 years. I'll probably add in, alongside number 4, the smartphone and the adoption of the smartphone. Today that we connect online, date online, learn online, live online. The average Westerner apparently checks their phone every 6.5 minutes. Well done tonight if you haven't done it since 6 o'clock. Now you're thinking about it. No. But the more we're digitally connected, the less we are, well, socially connected. And Dave Betts really says that these 6 changes, they have fundamentally shifted the landscape of society. It's a breeding ground then for isolation, loneliness, unhealthy appetite for division. Now you might think, okay, great, how's AI linked to this? Well, AI has the ability to exacerbate and accelerate existing issues. Let me say that again. AI has the ability to exacerbate and accelerate kind of what is already there. It's the great exacerbator. And so I've found this helpful with Jonathan Haidt. I don't know if you've come across him at all. Fascinating writer on all of this kind of stuff. And he wrote an article a little while ago called AI is about to make social media much more toxic. And in it he says this, that increasingly AI-enhanced social media will diminish trust. So there's already deep fakes and fake news. Trust in institutions is kind of at an all-time low. And he said AI getting behind that will exacerbate that. So those things will go even more downhill. Increasingly, he says, secondly, AI-enhanced social media will manipulate people into new and dangerous ways. So the algorithms, they're not going to get worse, are they, at kind of addicting us? They're only going to get better and progress, customizing our news feeds to be more and more and more addictive. A friend of mine said to me the other day, we were chatting about this, and he said that he was reading about something whereby the front-facing camera on your phone is going to be developed with AI to kind of notice what is going on with your retinas. So as you're looking at social media, and you look at certain things, and your body kind of goes, "Ooh, that's interesting," then it will go, "Oh, I found it," and then it will kind of pump more of that content. So if you're recovering from being a kind of addict of gambling, for example, something for gambling comes on, "Ooh, yeah, that's exciting." Or if you're a Christian and pornography comes on or something like that, and you think, "I don't want to look at that," even if you've swiped away from it or moved on, it will have recognised that your eyes went that, and will then pump more. Pretty terrifying, those things. He says AI will increasingly enhanced social media will be a disaster for adolescents. And actually that's a huge thing in Jonathan Haidt's writing, that since 2012, there's been a mental health epidemic. Huge change through that. You guys as school teachers will know those things, I'm sure. And then he says AI-enhanced social media could strengthen authoritarian regimes. It's already helping authoritarian rulers track their citizens' movements, but it will only get better at manipulating their people as well as manipulating foreign enemies. And so we've heard, haven't we, in the last few years of Russian interference in elections or different groups going, that's only going to get more, isn't it, as technology gets better. It's all very positive, isn't it, so far? To summarise these things then, a widespread mental health crisis already exists. AI is likely to exacerbate and amplify that. Increasingly unhealthy sexual habits, AI will amplify opportunities to sin. Growing divides in politics, AI will exacerbate that left and right and those kind of things further and further. But, this is where it gets positive, into that void, the church shines more beautifully, doesn't it? As God's people, encourage one another and build one another up. As we devote ourselves to fellowship and the sharing of those in need, Acts 2. As we clothe ourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. AI will never be self-sacrificial. It will never genuinely display love. It will not bake brownies for a church lunch or hold the hand of a dying saint in hospital, or recognise, we might recognise our news alert on BBC. It will never recognise someone that looks a little bit upset in a Bible study. They're not crying, but we've just noticed slightly that they're not themselves. AI will never do those things. And so as a church, we have an opportunity to shine into that void that is left. So the world needs relationships more than ever. And so maybe that's a point for us to think, how are we evaluating our own use of tech in that? How will face-to-face connections, how we prioritise those when it's so easy just to not go down that route? Those are a couple of little challenges. It's the great exacerbator then we see with AI. Second guideline that we see is that we need to become resilient congregations, resilient churches. And this is where I want you to do a little bit of work.
Okay.
If I was to say to you, where would you turn in the Bible to kind of address AI? You're not going to say, Galatians chapter 3, it talks about artificial intelligence in verse 4. No, it doesn't do that, clearly. But the Bible is sufficient, it is all we need, and it does speak into some of these different things we're talking about. That's what I want you to do just now. I put some little slips of paper. There's 4 topics. One is humanity, what does it mean to be human? One is economics. Thank you, Jaden, fantastic. He thought they were going to be coming to church on the Sunday night and talking about economics. Work, idolatry and pride. So maybe, hopefully all of these are covered. Just pick one, you don't need to go through more than one. Someone read it out, look at the passages, and then we'll feedback after that. Thank you.
Which one do you want to do? Ideology?